Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast, a program created to answer the question, what's in it for me, for both the business and their customers. Today's guest had this to say.
So many people are looking at how much does the insurance policy cost? And I would say from staffing to expertise to technology to convenience to the overall client experience, and ask yourself, is there something that I'm not getting for my insurance dollar?
Now, stay tuned as we hear more on their values, mission, and why they continue to grow their business. Joining me today on Growing Your Business is James Jenkins with RiskWell. James, thank you for joining me in the studio today.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. You got a nice little setup in here.
Thank you. And I want to shout out to James. Do y'all hear that voice? This guy does podcasts and other things, so he's clearly a professional announcer.
No, I'm going to try to keep up with you, my man.
Okay, well, I don't know. I feel competition, but in a very comfortable way. It's great to hear an excellent voice. Let's talk about, why do customers do business with you? What's your value proposition for them?
You know, it really comes down to value creation. You know, the insurance world is probably the most crowded vertical in all of American business. We operate exclusively on the commercial side of insurance. We mostly do property and casualty and related stuff that goes along with that. Lots of risk management consulting. You know, our value creation comes down to building trust and delivering solutions. You know, our clients tend to be small and medium-sized businesses or real estate operations, and they are rightfully selfish, you know. They don't care about insurance. They care about their business. I think so many people in my industry come into this with a hero complex. Oh, well, you need me, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner. I'm going to solve everything for your business. So just sit down and let me do my thing, you know, tap you on the shoulder kind of thing.
Superpower cape goes on.
Yeah. I'm guessing with you being what you do for work, you've probably heard the whole Donald Miller story brand thing, right?
I actually have not. That's
really
new to me. Okay, I'll post in the show link so other people can catch up as well, but enlighten me.
Well, it's one of the basic frameworks of how we operate. Donald Miller is an author, and one of his books, Building a Story Brand, tells this perspective of so many people that are in service-based industries or advisory-based work. They think of themselves as the hero of the story. And this creates an inherent conflict with the client because you and I both consider ourselves the protagonist in our own life story. And when a service provider comes along and takes that hero persona, there's inherent conflict because the client thinks they're the hero and the protagonist. And the book goes on to tell the Star Wars analogy. It's like, you're not Luke Skywalker. The client is Luke Skywalker. Right. You are Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda, if you prefer. Yeah. And when you put yourself in the hero position, it just creates all these kinds of problems in the storytelling and the dynamics of the relationship. Because, I mean, all humans are storytelling creatures. Like, we send and receive stories much easier than facts, right?
Yeah, true.
So that's the basic fundamentals of how we operate. You know, I say we have two jobs at RiskWell, and neither one of them is selling an insurance product. We build trust, we deliver solutions.
And I'm seeing here that the challenge, while you're doing both of those things, is identifying risk.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you approach your path for identifying risk for your customers.
You know, from an academic perspective, risk management typically is a 5-step process, and it's identification, then analysis, and then controlling or placing some kind of controls in the situation. Think of a fire suppression system in a restaurant. That's a loss control. That kind of perspective. And the control of risk is my favorite part because it's the one part of the process that me and the client have the most ability to affect positive change.
Oh, terrific.
We're not in charge of the rates that insurance companies charge for insurance. We are in charge of things that we can do inside of a business operation, whether it's safety programming and training for their employees or personal protective equipment or some sort of, like, for roofing, for instance, having an upgraded roof that has like better protection against hail damage or whatever. That'd be a control that minimizes the potential of future losses. So control is step 3. And then here's the crazy part. Insurance is step 4 in the risk management process. If you start by buying insurance, which is what most people do, hey, can I get a quote?
Right. Start there.
You're skipping steps 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Identify, analyze, and control. And do you think it might be more expensive to buy insurance if you're buying insurance before you've identified the threats, analyzed the threats, and placed appropriate controls around the threats to minimize and transfer as much risk as possible away from your business?
Absolutely. And that's every insurance.
Yeah.
Like the salesman, on the street, that's their dream.
Yeah.
Is that you would buy that way.
It's just a wild way of doing business. And I'm on a mission because every single thing you see from advertising, from marketing is, we'll save you money. Get a quote, 15 minutes and save 15% or more. Sorry, Geico, I'm going to throw you under the bus there a little bit. We actually represent Geico for commercial auto.
Right.
But the whole way that most people interact with the insurance industry is pretty dysfunctional. And, the whole educate and empower, it's really cliche to talk in those terms, but that's really our focus, is helping people understand, hey, the way that you've been trained to buy insurance is really dysfunctional. So we have a kind of an evangelist responsibility because most people aren't buying insurance the right way. They're not thinking about it the right way.
Right.
So much of what we do is an uphill battle because we're undoing all this, Pavlov's dog kind of training that the mass media tries to bake into people.
Interesting. And what's step 5?
Step 5 is just monitor. It's the most boring of all 5 steps because once you put a good program in place, what do you have to do? Well, you monitor.
Yeah.
And make sure that as the life of the business evolves over time, as the businesses make changes, right? You hire and fire people. You open up new product lines and new markets, geographic territories, and maybe you have a second location with a new building, or you buy a truck and need help, or hey, you know what? We've recognized a cyber liability exposure because we have a lot of data in our possession that bad actors want to get a hold of. I mean, today, how many phishing emails are you going to get?
My filter is pretty strong, and it's usually full.
Yeah.
Every day it just fills up with junk. Yeah.
And that is something that most people are wildly underprepared for.
You bet.
If you look at any of these reports from the big firms that do large level analysis, the number of small and medium-sized businesses that have a gigantic cyber liability and data breach exposure, it'll turn your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Because, for every Target or Home Depot or Capital One out there that's in the news for a data breach, there's thousands of small and medium businesses that don't have the resources to recover from that kind of thing. And depending on your level of preparation, if you have one of those big data breach events, it's probably going to put you out of business.
My company, Visual Learning Solutions, about 3 years ago, the owner of the company, opened a suspicious email. Actually, it was a contract. It said, is this an important contract? I clicked on the link. Luckily, our server, we have a 200 terabyte server for all our video production and stuff. Luckily, that was not connected because our service provider shut all of our emails down for 3 days because it was a worm of some kind that went through everything and sent emails to all of our customers with that link.
Oh,
and it was that simple. And I consider myself pretty savvy, but it had keywords that attracted me. I was like, oh, clickbait. And there I am, a victim. So
well, and social engineering
Yeah.
and fraudulent transfer and fraudulent payment requests, for really small organizations, it's not that much of a threat. But for any organization that has more than 5 or 6 people, if the person who's responsible for paying invoices isn't the person who's responsible for authorizing invoices to be paid, there's a huge opportunity for bad actors. Hey Jennifer, can you pay this invoice to such and such company, please? And if the company doesn't have good controls in place or in-person, two-party verification of any invoices requesting to be paid via email must have executive authorization, for instance.
Yeah.
And I know we're deep in the weeds here, but this is something every company deals with.
You bet.
What happens if a bad actor tries to screw us over?
And take your business, take your money, take your customers.
And hurt your reputation, too. That's one of the most dangerous parts, and it's one of the hardest parts to quantify is what's the exposure to your business if your reputation gets dragged through the mud. If you end up on the news for having a breach event, what's the damage to your business?
Right.
And one of the things that are included in the cyber liability and data breach policies that we do are what's called soft cost exposure. So hiring a public relations firm and reputation management. These are things that most people don't think of when they think about insurance programs. But if something goes down and you need to have positive spin in your favor. You need someone booking you interviews with, press release companies and TV stations and local radio and whatnot. Who's going to pay for that? Are you going to pay for it out of pocket, or would you rather have your insurance company pay for it?
Yeah,
I know who I want to pay for it.
I raise my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Option B is a great option.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I think, and you're 3 steps ahead of insurance, and you're 1 step after. I mean, insurance is available.
Yeah.
The right insurance is available, but those 3 ahead. Yeah. And definitely monitoring. Yeah. And that's the trick is people get the thing, and if they're not monitoring the thing, what real value does it have? Because every day things changes. And I see that as critical.
It's the most important part.
Yeah. Analysis is important up front, but also monitoring and analysis under it. Analyzing the data while you're monitoring and how is it benefiting your business and what's it doing and what's the market doing. So your 5-step approach is pretty comprehensive.
Well, and one of my favorite parts on the front end of analysis is having conversations with a business owner that has nothing at all to do with insurance. The number of times that we have a chat about loss control stuff and analyzing what is the better way to spend $50,000. Hey, I have this set budget here for safety improvements, and what should I do with it? Should I install a sprinkler system in my building? Should I have upgraded personal protective equipment for my staff? Should I get telematics for my vehicle fleet and install those front-facing and cab-facing cameras and all those things? It's like, hey, I have this money. Where should I spend it for maximum positive impact in my business? And those conversations are a lot of fun because we get to run some, software analysis and figure out what projected loss totals are. And, based on spending it here versus here, like where are you going to see more NOI, net operating income improvement? And what's your return on spending that hypothetical $50,000 on whatever? So.
And on behalf of this individual business owner, but I think other business owners are hearing this, it's also business therapy. You get to talk to somebody who's talked to a lot of business owners about where they are in their journey, how to spend their money. And so your advice in the analysis phase is not, it's hard fought. You've talked to thousands of people, and now you bring their knowledge to that conversation, which then helps them pivot to what direction they're headed in.
Man, I mean, at the end of the day, you can buy insurance anywhere. If you're making a business decision based on who your advisor needs to be, based on a quote from an insurance carrier, I just got to say you're doing it wrong. And thinking about the relationship with the humans behind the policy, that's how you should be making your choice. Because, I mean, whether it's Hartford, Travelers, Chubb, Liberty Mutual, whoever, we represent a bunch of carriers. But our competition does too. If you're making a business decision based on a quote from an insurance carrier, I think you're doing it wrong.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this. The Growing Your Business podcast is sponsored in part by Visual Learning Solutions. Stands out with its expertise in crafting immersive audio and video experiences. Their creative team has over 30 years of experience delivering dynamic, internal training programs tailored to various industries. They ensure the audience receives a compelling message, promotes brand awareness, and increases return on investment. They also excel in producing marketing content. Learn more at their website, visuallearningsolutions.com. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles.
Working with people.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about early in the conversation. Getting to know people that fit your business, understand you, and will pick up the phone versus an insurance carrier, which is, I think we've all had some experience there.
Yeah, I just prefer to not talk about them at all.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Is whether it's underwriting or claims. Underwriting on the front end, claims on the back end. Those are things that we don't have direct control over as the representative for our clients. But I don't have any problem at all getting on a phone and putting my Conan the Barbarian helmet on and going to war with a claims adjuster.
Right. Fight for your clients.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're stuck in the middle. When the agent title on my business card, it's a two-way facing agent. I'm an agent of the company, representing the company to the client, but I'm also the agent of the client, advocating for their best outcomes with the company. And there's a lot of tension there that nobody ever really cares about or understands, but imagine being in my shoes and having to keep these two parties happy when they have competing interests at all times.
You got to carry that on your own shoulders.
Yeah.
But that's what you're offering your customer.
100%. Yeah. And who's going to fight for you when the proverbial hits the fan?
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to say that. At the end of the day, when something goes completely sideways, do you have confidence that the people that you have chosen are going to fight and have your back?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, well, then pick somebody else. And the best part of the whole way that commercial insurance is set up is the client always has the power. The client can choose their representative literally any day of the week. If your agent's not doing their job, if they're leaving value on the table, then fire them. If I'm not doing my job, if my team behind me is dropping the ball, then fire us. It's that simple. The broker of record letter is powerful stuff. A lot of people think in order to change their agent, you have to change your insurance program. No, not one bit. If you like your insurance, you just don't like your agent, well, you've got the power to change it via one little piece of paper.
How about that? Well, walk me through, say I'm a new customer, and now I know your 5-step process. Let's say we started today. So, James, I want you to be my insurance agent.
Sure.
How do we get started?
It starts with curiosity. Hey, buddy, thanks so much for calling. I really appreciate it. What's going on? What can I help you with? Because we always start with getting to understand the client and what they care about. You called me today for a reason. You didn't call because it's your hobby. You like talking to insurance agents. I imagine there's lots of ways you'd rather spend your time.
Possibly.
We always start with just basic curiosity. What's going on? Tell me about your operation. What's your team? What are you guys into? What are the things that keep you up at night? If you're worrying when your head is on the pillow staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., what are you worrying about? Because there's some things that you can buy insurance for and some things you just need to make operational changes on, whether it's safety programming or standard operating procedures or workflows or systems for your business or better controls of your company's tech stack, whatever that happens to be. There's some things you can buy insurance for and some things you can't. Yeah. And I'll be the first one to, walk someone through that and identify if they haven't thought about risk tolerance, well, how much risk are you okay with? What are the things that you're just going, you know what, I'm not going to buy insurance for that. I'm just going to put operational controls in place and minimize the likelihood of something bad happening and, hope for the best. And if something bad does happen, okay. Just walking people through that process of understanding, of identifying where the threats are for their business, quantifying those threats and deciding, do we buy insurance for this or do we put controls in place and move on?
Excellent. And so I'd say from that first call to signing you as an agent and buying insurance, is that like a week? Or I guess it's based on my availability as your customer.
Well, and your operation too.
Yeah.
If it's a simple Main Street business that doesn't have a lot of moving parts, let's say you're a bakery or a flower shop or an attorney's office or whatever, very straightforward operation there.
Yeah.
And if you're more involved, if there's more legwork, figuring out exactly where the threats are, I would say the shortest time, we have some same-day accounts where it's just bing, bang, boom, done, where 20 or 30 minutes of conversation. Depends on the client. Some people really want to marinate on that and decide for a day or two.
Sure.
Some of the stuff we work with, it takes months. Like we have a client we took in via broker of record letter. They moved their entire program to us away from a very large national broker. They're out of Houston. And they have a string of luxury furniture stores, and they own a bunch of commercial real estate, and they've got a vehicle fleet that moves things around from their stores, and they've got a lot of inventory, a lot of employees with work comp and all this stuff. And we started working on that account back in July, and it doesn't renew until December. And between July and December, we're putting all the pieces together and having those loss control conversations and making sure that every little piece is where it's supposed to be so nothing gets missed. Because as you can imagine, with a $40 million operation, we got to make sure that we do it right. Because if we don't, then it's my insurance on the line because I have professional liability insurance just like any other professional advisor would. And if I make a mistake, well, I'm filing a claim on my insurance because I messed up and cost my client money.
Interesting. And so it sounds like if you're thinking about switching your agent, thinking about changing your policy, the time to talk to James is now.
Yeah.
Don't wait till December or January 1st when your policy is up for renewal.
100%.
You can do a lot in advance.
One of the little tedious things that I'm always surprised by is the number of agents out there that don't line up effective dates. And if you're a business owner that has the same 4 or 5 policies that just about every business owner does, your business owner's policy, your umbrella, commercial auto, work comp, if you got a cyber liability policy, whatever, do all of your effective dates line up? Whatever that date is.
Interesting.
I prefer the 1st or the 15th of a month. If you have to pick throughout the year, July 1st or January 1st is the most common ones. January 1st obviously being the most common one for accounting purposes because, controllers and CFOs love to see accounting calendars and insurance expenses line up perfectly. But if your effective dates aren't lined up, you're stuck spending labor hours and brain cycles multiple times during the year when you should, in my opinion, have those effective dates lined up. So you have to think about insurance once. And you have your review period once a year, and the rest of the year, you're good. So that's just a little nugget there.
Yeah, good one.
If your effective dates aren't lined up, your agent's probably not paying close enough attention. So that's probably a good opportunity to, improve things. If nothing else, even if the cost on the paper is exactly the same, you're saving brain cycles and labor dollars. So you end up winning either way.
I love it. So, James, how do we contact you? What's the best way to reach you?
RiskWell.com, or you can call us at 469-678-8001. If you're in the McKinney or Collin County area, feel free to stop by the office. We've got a nice little space up there on El Dorado in McKinney. And thanks for the opportunity to talk here today, buddy. I love this sort of stuff.
Yeah, same here. Any parting thoughts for future customers if they're on the fence of trying to find the right agent?
I would just say expect more from your representation. So many people are looking at how much does the insurance policy cost. And I would say from staffing to expertise to technology to convenience to the overall client experience, you really should be thinking, I deserve better than this. And ask yourself, is there something that I'm not getting for my insurance dollar that I should be? Because you don't pay the commission for your insurance agent. The insurance company does. So why not extract maximum value from the money you're already spending? Expect more from your agent. And our little slogan, I'll just end you with this: life is risky, risk well. And thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.